This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Executives from Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google are on Capitol Hill today. They will answer questions before a House Judiciary Committee about the use of anti-competitive practices and whether they are censoring conservatives. Charlene Arrett has more from the CBN newsroom. Charlene.
Wendy, tech giants Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple, as you said, are answering tough questions today after mounting pressure on the government to scrutinize the companies. Lawmakers are looking into Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission probes whether the companies are using anti-competitive practices, among other concerns, particularly censorship of conservatives. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is hosting a summit on Google today. He argues the tech companies often engage in anti-conservative bias. For that reason, he says a special provision in the Communications Decency Act that gives big tech immunity from liability should be reconsidered.
Congress passed that under the assumption they would be neutral public fora. In other words, they weren't going to be biased. They weren't going to favor one view over another. They would let all comers come to their site. They've decided not to do that. They've decided to be hardcore leftists, to silence, to throttle, to shadow ban conservatives. And I think if they continue to do that, there's no reason they should get a special immunity from liability that nobody else does.
Now, today's hearing comes after the president's social media summit at the White House last week. Lila Rose shared how her group, Live Action, has been permanently barred from Pinterest, had viral videos buried on YouTube, and much more.
We have been for 4 years banned from doing any advertising on Twitter, and they told us that in order to reinstate our accounts, we'd have to stop calling for the defunding of Planned Parenthood and stop sharing our pro-life content.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are also likely to have questions and criticisms of Facebook's ambitious plan to create digital currency. Wendy?
Thanks, Charlene. Well, joining us now with more on this is Vice President of the Media Research Center, Dan Gaynor. Dan, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you as well, especially on such an important day for congressionally.
Oh, my, you aren't kidding. Well, do you expect anything to come out of these hearings besides talk? Would we actually see government action taken against these social media companies?
Well, I think we're definitely heading that route. There's both left and right want to take some action. They don't agree on what, but they do agree that something must be done. They're concerned about privacy. They're concerned about the size of the companies. But the left is certainly not concerned that conservatives are being censored or restricted in any way.
Should the issues of social media censorship, for instance, Lila Rose, I mean, I can't believe the censorship they've undergone against conservatives, and whether these companies are economic monopolies, should that be linked?
Well, it's raised a big question. Can people compete? Can a company like Gab, which tries to be a free speech operation, or Parler, or any of these other new startups, really compete against companies that are the largest and most powerful companies in human history?
Well, all of these companies continue to be even more brazen in their censorship of conservatives. Do you think that they think that they're untouchable?
Well, I think it's escalated because there's really, at its core, maybe not always at the executive level, but a lot of the employees, they are trying to undo what happened in 2016. Donald Trump and before him Barack Obama won on the backs of social media. And Donald Trump is the powerful social media force, and the left, particularly in these Silicon Valley companies, is trying to prevent him from doing in 2020 what he did in 2016.
Dan, what do you make of Peter Thiel's allegations that Google senior management has been, quote, thoroughly infiltrated by Chinese intelligence?
Well, I mean, it's scary how much these companies will work with nations that are our foes and not work with us. But this is very much the sort of the globalist vision. We're going to hire employees from around the world, many of whom are not necessarily loyal to the United States. And, that's always been seen as a good in tech. But once you have these tech companies starting to work with defense departments, and in China, Google will say, well, we don't work with the Chinese, the Chinese Defense Department. But if you work with one branch of Chinese government or a lot of their businesses, you're really working with the Chinese Defense Department. And that's just the truth.
Well, if we indeed have social media monopolies, any suggestions for what the government should do?
Well, I mean, one of the first things for government to do is to look into how much these companies are involved in our elections. That's the FEC. That's something that can already be done without congressional approval. All these top tech companies got involved in the 2018 election trying to get the vote out. Did they do so fairly? That's a big question, especially in the case of Google, where some Google employees were trying to promote getting Hispanic vote out in key states to boost Hillary Clinton in 2016. That's something we need to know going into the 2020 election.
Well, Dan, we'll have to leave it there for now, but we look forward to you coming back on the show soon. Thanks so much for your insights.
So do I. Thank you.
Well, the Justice Department is working to fight a rise in attacks of Jewish people across America, bringing together members of the Trump administration Monday with members of the Jewish community for a summit on combating anti-Semitism.
Of course, it is one thing for the nation to pull together in condemning anti-Semitism when confronted with front-page stories about horrific shootings, as in Pittsburgh and Poway. But far too often, Jews and Jewish communities in America suffer outside the spotlight. These attacks and others like them in communities across the country, sadly, are less well known outside the Jewish community. But they form the daily background of concerns about security and safety that many in the Jewish community feel.
Also at the meeting Monday, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos blasted the BDS movement against Israel, calling it a pernicious threat on college campuses and saying it's fueled by bias against Jews. BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions. It's a boycott campaign led by pro-Palestinian activists against Israel over its treatment of Palestinians. DeVos said these bullies claim they stand for human rights, but we all know that BDS stands for anti-Semitism. Well, the battle between the president and 4 left-wing freshman Democratic women heated up over the weekend. This after President Trump's tweeted referencing certain progressive congresswomen saying they should go back to their countries if they didn't like it here. In an exclusive interview, CBN's David Brody asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo about his reaction to this and what it says to our allies.
I want to ask you a little bit more broadly about foreign policy. I know Joe Biden has been critical. I know that's politics, but Joe Biden's been critical of this administration's foreign policy. And then we have the squad that we hear so much about. A lot of what the president has said, anti-Israel rhetoric coming from these folks. What do you make of that as Secretary of State and what that message sends to folks around the world, especially Israel and some of our allies?
Look, when a handful of members of Congress say things that are in the tone of the fact that they blame America for so much of the trouble in the world, that's deeply troubling. As I stare at the problem set, whether it's work that we're doing in the Middle East or work we're doing to solve the problem of HIV/AIDS in Africa, or the reconciliation effort that we're underway with in Afghanistan, I watch America, I watch its motives. We are a force for good in the world, not a force for evil. We are not the cause of these conflicts. And I hear these members of Congress talk about this as if America had generated this trouble. And to blame America first for these things is deeply inconsistent with not only our founding and our tradition, but with the facts on the ground.
And David Brody, I believe. Yeah, there he is. David Brody, my friend, joins us now from our Washington studio. Hey, David, how are you doing?
Good, Wendy. Good to see you.
You too. Well, you obviously spoke with Secretary Pompeo. Religious persecution and religious freedom are important issues for him as well. What did he say about where we stand on advancing religious freedom in the world?
Well, he makes clear that religious persecution is no doubt on the rise, and that's clearly troubling, and that's the main reason we actually sat down and talked to him, because in Washington today through Thursday of this week is the Ministerial to Advance Religious Freedom, where religious leaders, faith leaders of all sorts will be in Washington, along with civic leaders as well, to discuss strategies on how best to combat discrimination in many of these countries. And so that really was the purpose of it. He understands that it's a major problem, but he also understands that the U.S. Constitution here in America, we value, obviously, the freedom of religion, and that is something that this Trump administration wants to really make sure they hammer home. It's the second year they've done this now. It's even bigger this year than it was last year.
David, you asked him about China, I'm sure. Tell us about that. What did he say?
Well, he had a very strong message for China, a very direct message. Stop it. It was basically the message. And he said they need to respect the many thousands, tens of thousands of Muslims in China that are being persecuted up in the north there. And I asked him specifically about that. And he said, look, that needs to stop. And China, this just in, Wendy, is not at the ministerial to advance religious freedom, along with Iran and North Korea and a few other bad actors when it comes to this. Having said that, it's a tightrope. It's a dance, if you will. Trade, economic issues, all tangled up, the stock market in China as well. So you put all that together, and this administration, along with many other administrations before that, have had to kind of walk a fine line with China, and this is part of it.
David, Secretary Pompeo recently established the Commission on Unalienable Rights, and he's received some criticism about the commission and its goals. What did he say about that?
Right. So this Commission on Unalienable Rights basically is to kind of look at what are human rights and what does America stand for when it comes to human rights. And they're going to go to the founding of this country. That's what he told me today. They're going to go to the U.S. Constitution and whittle down what it means to basically have a human right, because he says to me in the interview today that we have thousands of rights today. Well, are some of them really human rights? Are some of them political? What is it exactly? And so that's what they're attempting to do. Of course, the pushback is coming from women's groups, from minority groups who say, hold on, are you going to roll back some of our rights here? And when I asked him that specifically, he never said, no, we're not. He never said, yes, we will. He just answered it pretty much in a plain way. And so you can take from it what you want.
All right, great interview. And you can watch more from David Brody's interview with Pompeo on tomorrow's 700 Club. And you can watch that right here on the CBN News Channel. Well, up next, what new abortion-related regulations will now be enforced and how it's a win for the pro-life movement.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Planned Parenthood and other clinics receiving federal funding can no longer make abortion referrals as part of its family planning services. The Trump administration announced the new abortion-related regulations will now be enforced. Planned Parenthood's Leanna Wen says, "We will not stop fighting for all those across the country in need of essential care." Students for Life's Kristen Hawkins says ending the connection between abortion and family planning is a victory for common sense health care. And Kristen Hawkins with Students for Life joins us now. And Kristen, you certainly made some sense in that last statement. You know, this is good news for pro-lifers, isn't it?
And it's actually, a great demonstration why elections matter. President Trump promised to defund Planned Parenthood. We haven't been able to get a full defunding measure through Congress, but this was one step that the president and his administration was able to take to ban Title X recipients, to enforce the law, to say, look, you can't co-locate an abortion facility within a family planning clinic. You can't close a sale of an abortion while you're trying to serve women on the taxpayer's dollar.
Do you think this new legislation will actually affect the abortion industry?
We know it will affect the abortion industry. Several Planned Parenthoods for the past decades have been receiving Title X funding. So this is going to say, look, that pot of money is no longer open to you, Planned Parenthood, as long as you continue to commit abortions or refer women to have abortions.
What do the Title X family planning grants entail exactly?
Title X family planning is for money for lower income women to receive family planning services, contraceptive services, advice for how to plan out their children, space out their children, kind of common sense healthcare that's actually offered at federally qualified health centers, more than 8,000 of them across the country. Planned Parenthood has kind of gotten their hands in the cookie jar there over the past several years, which it really doesn't make sense because they're the nation's largest abortion vendor, but yet then they're telling the government that they're going to sell contraceptive services to prevent abortions. So something doesn't make sense there, right? And so Planned Parenthood has been receiving some of these taxpayer dollars and receiving Title X grants. Many of their facilities have been. That's why Leanna Wen, the new president of Planned Parenthood, spoke out against this rule. This is why the abortion industry, immediately after President Trump announced this rule, promised to do everything they can to fight this because they want as many taxpayer dollars as possible to subsidize their predatory abortion business.
So you think these restrictions will impact Planned Parenthood very specifically then?
Absolutely. This is literally going to take money out of Planned Parenthood's bank. They are not going to be able to get Title X money, and we believe it can defund them about $60 million a year.
Wow, that's a big sum. This is a big day for the pro-life movement. Kristen Hawkins, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still ahead, although many people fear aging, we'll bring you the story of one woman who's proven that no matter how old you are, you can indeed turn back the clock.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
A healthy lifestyle can cut your risk of developing Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, even if you have genes that raise your risk for these diseases. That's the finding from a large study from scientists at the University of Exeter, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. The study says a healthy diet, enough exercise, limiting how much alcohol you drink, and not smoking made dementia less likely. Healthy living has also been found to help people overcome the genetic risk for heart disease. Well, many people fear getting older means losing independence, memory, and mobility, but it doesn't have to be that way. Lori Johnson introduces us to a woman who's proven it's never too late to turn back the clock.
At age 61, Barbara Hannah Grufferman feels happier and healthier than many people half her age.
We can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it.
You might find it hard to believe that until about a decade ago, Barbara lived like a couch potato.
The last time I had worked out seriously was back when Jane Fonda was doing those tapes, Feel the Burn and all that stuff.
By middle age, she put on weight, felt sluggish, and believed her best years were behind her.
And I was starting to feel, is this what turning 50 is all about? And it was a very upsetting moment for me, and it was a very scary time for me.
In the midst of her depression, she chose to take a little walk.
I put one foot in front of the other. I literally took my first step to my whole new life. I didn't realize it then.
The walks started happening more often, became longer, and she started mixing in a little jogging.
I was starting to lose the weight. I was starting to have more energy. I was just starting to look better and started to feel, for the first time since turning 50, actually positive about my future.
That positive feeling led her to complete 5 marathons, write 3 books, including her latest, Love Your Age, becoming an AARP ambassador, and getting off all medications.
Doctors say regular exercise means we can ditch a lot of the pills we take, like antidepressants, blood pressure medication, and sleeping pills.
It also reduces the risk of chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, according to the Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Michael Roizen.
Well, it's never too late until you're 6 feet under. So it's never too late until they're putting dirt on top of you.
In his book, Age Proof, Roizen cites research showing exercise can significantly strengthen our immune system.
Yeah, this is really strange because no one ever expected this.
Scientists now tell us our ability to fight off everything from the common cold to Alzheimer's is largely determined by the bacteria in our gut.
And believe it or not, exercise was one of the great things at changing the bacteria inside you, we don't know why, into being much healthier.
But not just any exercise.
Researchers figured out the least amount of exercise we need to do to achieve the maximum health benefits. It involves 4 types of exercise.
10,000 steps a day, which can be measured on a fitness tracker, 20 jumps each morning and night, 30 minutes of resistance training 3 times a week, and 20 minutes of cardio 3 times a week.
Doing 20 minutes 3 times a week of things that make you sweat in a cool room. That's what we call cardio.
As spokeswoman for the American Osteoporosis Foundation, Barbara feels especially passionate about resistance training, which can mean lifting weights or using your body weight, as in push-ups or planks. That, along with calcium and vitamin D, strengthens bones.
This is critical because people, when they fall at an advanced age, can be debilitated for the rest of their lives. And that is something that I think about.
While exercise isn't the only anti-aging tool, it's often the first.
Because I was feeling so much better and motivated to live a healthier life, I decided to, investigate what should I eat.
Barbara switched to a plant-based diet, avoiding sugar and processed foods. So while aging is inevitable, don't give up on life. Walking, cardio, and resistance training can help you avoid many of the pitfalls of getting older. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Wow, she looks great. Well, you can get more important health information, including the benefits of tea and a not very nice story on the horrible practice of female genital mutilation. You can see those stories and more tonight on Healthy Living at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Well, coming up, what important event will be highlighted in a new HBO series filmed in Israel? We'll tell you when we come back.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
A new series on HBO will tell the story of the events that led up to Israel's 2014 war with Gaza. The show is called Our Boys and details the kidnapping and murders of 3 innocent Jewish teenagers by Hamas. Following the murders, an Israeli citizen was tried and convicted for kidnapping and murdering an innocent 16-year-old Palestinian teenager. The series is based on true events and was filmed in Israel. It premieres Monday, August 12th at 9 o'clock Eastern on HBO. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Newswatch. You can find more on the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime on our CBN News channel. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Just email us at newswatch@cbn.com or reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next time. Until then, from all of us here, God bless you.